Getting ready to go racing from virtual Kansas Speedway. Honeycutt letting us know that we're getting ready to go. 21 trucks taking part in PSES round 24 from the Heartland. Jose Ruiz and Joel Conley in the number 19 and number 1 Ford Chevy pairing going to take us to the line. 115 laps of action on offering. Pace truck peels off, getting ready to go, waiting for that signal. Green flag is out. Let's go racing in the Heartland. So far, so good. Everybody making it through clean and green through that first lap. Ruiz, Crooks, Conley, your top three. There's Charlie Mosley on the high side now. He's got Doc Holliday coming up to his inside in that number 7. Behind them, Jamie Haynes in the number 53. Trucks fanning out 2 and 3 wide. That looks like Mike Everidge, possibly Connor Cunningham, and it is the 24 of Connor Cunningham slow up the inside after making some contact. And that green-white Chevy Silverado falling well off the pace all the way down to stone dead last in 21st position. A battle now for the second position. Ryan Crooks on the outside of Jose Ruiz, and that's going to make Crooks your new leader. Crooks, Ruiz, Conley, Chevy, Ford, Chevrolet, top 3 laps into this race. If you've just recently joined us, I'm Rick James, bringing you uninterrupted green flag coverage of the Southern Canadian Racing PSES trucks from virtual Kansas Speedway. Rounding out the top 10, Adam Rowe in the number 84 Dirty Mo Media Chevy Silverado. Coming into this race, Adam Rowe trying to make his way through this top 10. He sits 12th in the point standings right now. Rowe looking to be in that top 10 after next week. Next week at Bristol is the cutoff, and they're wrecking ahead. It looks like it's Honeycutt in the 50 who's involved. Also, the 89 truck of Charlie Mosley Jr., who was having trouble early on. Caution number 1 is out at the Kansas Speedway. Chucky Mosley in the 89, the Mobile, Alabama native, not having a good time. And then the number 24 of Connor Cunningham, who was slow a couple of laps earlier, getting caught up in that scrape, and that brings out caution number 1 tonight. Let's go back and have a look what brought out this first caution. Let's start with Chuck Mosley in the 89 truck, and they're already wrecking. It looks like there's the 50 who was already involved. That was John Honeycutt, and it looks like Honeycutt comes off the least damage from this. At least he drove away the quickest. There's Cunningham on the 24 struggling to get moving. Let's go back again and have a look. It looks like trucks just running out of real estate, and that's indeed what happened. The 50 and the 89 getting into it, and not a good look for the number 50. Crooks crossing the line as the leader, so back to live pictures. Ryan Crooks is your race leader in the unsponsored number 23 Silverado. Joel Conley, Kool-Aid they call him, from Northern Florida, sitting in the second position in the number 1 Exalta Chevrolet, and then Doc Holliday bringing up the bottom of the podium in that flaming number 7, sitting in the 3rd position. Let's go to Ryan Crooks and see if we can bother Ryan, get his opinion on how his race is going so far. And it looks like Ryan's unavailable for comment, so we'll leave Ryan to his own work. Joel Conley sitting in that second position, rocking the number 1 Axalta Chevrolet. Let's see if we can bother old Joel Conley for a minute, see how he's enjoying his race so far. Joel Conley, Rick James up top, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, what's up, brother?
Kool-Aid, you're sitting in the second position right now behind Ryan Crooks, Doc Holliday right behind you. Bringing up these points, you sit third in the standings right now with the cutoff next week. It seems all but a wrap for these next 2 races, so what can you learn thinking ahead to that next round?
Just pay attention to the non-racing stuff, like pit stops, not making mistakes, speeding on pit road is going to be the biggest thing for me.
That number 1 Axalta Chevrolet on the outside of Ryan Crooks in the number 23 truck. Are you going to look to take the lead right off this restart? What's the secret to being faster than the other guys?
No, I'm going to let these guys go and just fall in line where I belong and hopefully be there at the end of the race. I never really push too hard on these restarts.
That brings us to the most important question of the evening. Joel Conley, what is your favorite kind of donut?
Pink strawberry filled, red sprinkles on a chocolate donut.
That sounds fantastic, and I hope you deserve that winning donut at the end of the night, buddy. Best of luck. Bring it home in one piece.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.
Kool-Aid going back to work in the number 1 Axalta Chevrolet to the outside of Ryan Crooks. 3 Chevys in the podium positions. Doc Holliday bringing up the 3rd position. Jim Pankow rounding out the top 5 in the number 48 Hooters truck. He's up 10 spots from where he started. And Canadian Ryan Stenbacher's in the 799 F-150 sitting in the back of the top 10. Green flag is out. The 23 of Crooks moves, and we're racing again. Single file, top 7 trucks. Doc Holliday in the 3rd position. Jamie Haynes now bringing up that 5th spot with Jim Pankow hanging out there in the 6th position. Stenbacher's drops back to the 8th spot while Dougie King moves up into the 10th position. Starting to fan out behind him, Matt Langley in the 13th position. He brings his number 14 Silverado into fighting contention. 3 wide with John Honeycutt almost going into the wall. 1 truck did go into the wall. It looked like the 14 of Langley now slowing back. Let's roll this one back and see exactly what happened here. Trucks going 3 wide into 1. Someone had to give. And it wasn't Langley, it was behind them. It looks like it was between Hutchins and Thuis. One of the blue trucks up ahead. And it's the number 78 truck, Stephen Harris, in that Toyota that gets pinched up into the wall. Harris really getting no love in the Lucas Oil Napa know-how. Toyota Tundra, Harris having to pick up the pieces, now finding himself 20th out of 21 trucks. The pilot from the Volunteer State now has it all to play for. At the front, fight for the lead. The Michigan pilot, Matt O'Brien, now to the inside of Ryan Crooks in the 23 and the Armor All Tundra. Now your new leader trying to cut off the 23 out of turn number 2. Nothing he can do. Still side by side in a drag race through the 3rd and 4th corners. If you're just joining us, check out this incredible fight. 12 laps complete, this time by 115 the scheduled distance. Drag race to the line. Matt O'Brien leading that lap over Ryan Crooks in the number 23. Baby in the chat says, "Go Ryan," cheering on for the number 23 on the outside. Will he still have the move on the top line? Racing down this back straight from the eye in the sky. Truck 23 really trying to hold on and giving a heck of a fight to the 17 on the inside. But now out of the 4th corner, it looks like O'Brien clears Ryan Crooks, and your new undisputed leader at Kansas, Truck 17, Matt O'Brien. Here comes Crooks once again to the outside, relentless in that 23, but what is he doing to those tires? Oh, Crooks really trying his hardest while Jamie Haynes looks on in truck 53. Is Haynes getting any advantage on the top two? Stenbacher's in the 799, briefly getting loose and almost losing control of his truck. Doc Holliday now finding himself in a fight for sixth, scooting up the racetrack, and the Canadian Adam Rowe now to the inside of truck number 7. Rowe now trying to fight Jim Pankow for his spot in the top 5. O'Brien still struggling with the heavy-handed Ryan Crooks. No problem rim riding on the high side of the racetrack. He is here for this win. Looking at those points one more time, pilot of that number 23, Crooks, trying to get himself into the playoffs. He sits 19th right now. He's out of the playoffs, sitting 19th. The top 10 trucks will go down to 8 by the end of next week. Nothing to lose for Crooks in truck number 19. He's trying to get the win and nothing else. Matt O'Brien sitting second in points. It's not solidified, but it's almost a mathematical certainty that O'Brien can get himself into the next week. However, he only finds himself 16 points ahead of the playoffs. Headed into next week, he could turn those 16 points into a ticket to the round of 8. Drivers will only be able to go about 40 laps on an absolute maximum fuel-saving run, but Jamie Haynes throws caution to the wind on that fuel-saving run. Truck 53 now moves up into the second position. Toyota, Chevy, your top 3. Matt O'Brien leading by slim margins over Jamie Haynes in the 53 truck. Now Crooks on the outside. Here comes Haynes to the inside for the lead. The number 53 Nutrien Silverado. The Virginia Cavalier, Jamie Haynes to the inside of Matt O'Brien. He will lead lap 19. New leader at Kansas, Jamie Haynes. O'Brien to the outside, now sitting in the second position, and it's a Toyota sandwich with Chevrolet bread on those podium positions. Crooks in the third position, now trying to chase down Matt O'Brien. Kool-Aid Conley to the outside of Jim Pankow. This the fight for the 5th position. Pankow now up 11 positions from where he started. Chris Fathke in the number 27 Hysteria Silverado now behind Pankow. Stenbacher's back into the top 10. As Special Ed 983 says, let's go Haynes, cheering on the new race leader, Jamie Haynes. There's the 799 of Stenbacher's intent. There's Haynes up ahead in the 53. The gap between these two, several seconds coming across the line. It doesn't look much, but it is an eternity at this stage of the race. Ed also cheering on for Kool-Aid Conley in the 6th position. Debbie Hutchins into the number 82 Toyota Tundra, sitting in the 15th position right now. The Texas native trying to get further up in this running order. There you see Hutchins sitting 9th in the playoff standings right now. As of now, if this was next week, Hutchins would be out. She needs a top 10 run today to get the points necessary. Next week at Bristol is the cutoff race where 10 will be reduced to 8. at the front of this race. Jamie Haynes continues to lead, but now here comes the 17 of Matt O'Brien. Down the front straight, the 17 within 2/10 of truck 53. This the fight for the lead into one. Haynes taking the high side. O'Brien seeking shelter on the shade of Jamie Haynes being casted from that top line. Haynes now in trouble as the Armor All truck of O'Brien goes to the inside of the Nutrien Silverado, side by side out of turn 4, and they're going to have a drag race to the line. 17 truck to the inside, but he won't quite get there. Jamie Haynes leads the lap. There goes O'Brien to the inside. Will he give the slide job out of 2? Haynes has the opportunity for a crossover, but he can't pull it off. New leader, Matt O'Brien. Special Dogs and More says he's also cheering for Kool-Aid Conley. Joel Conley in the 6th position, but now slipping back. John Honeycutt, who was involved in that first accident, now sitting in the 7th position. Almost a resurrection. 26 laps into this race so far. He's also talking about Jamie Haynes sitting in the 2nd position as they go 3 wide almost. Honeycutt staying well out of it and dropping back to the 8th position. Ryan Stenbachers goes around in truck number 799. Stenbachers making his way up into 6th. Conley, now the 27 truck being left behind. That's Chris Fathke who gets into the wall. Sammy Harrell in the number 43, also in trouble, now losing an enormous amount of time. Here comes Neil Lapidus and Adam Rowe, 11th and 12th respectively. Trucks blinking at the front, trying to get a hold of it. Adam Rowe, the Canadian, in the number 84 Dirty Mo Silverado, falling off the pace. He's got a scraped up right side. Matt Langley in the multicolored number 14 Langley Racing Silverado to the inside of the Canadian in truck 84. That will put Langley into position number 12. Matt Langley, the 2nd Michigan pilot we've come across tonight. Almost contact with that 84 truck. There you see Langley not in the top 10, not a part of these playoffs, here for the win. He's done a good job so far keeping the truck out of trouble, but now he needs to advance towards the front. At the front, however, this is the biggest lead we've seen all night long. Matt O'Brien in truck 17 ahead of Jamie Haynes by 0.6 of a second. Ryan Crooks on the high side trying to gain speed on truck 53. And the top 3 so far separated by 1.5 seconds. Kool-Aid Conley now under fire. Jim Pankow goes to the inside, and he wants the spot from Joel Conley. This is the battle for 4th. Riding along with Conley. Conley now 1.2 seconds away from the top 3. Jamie Haynes gets back to the 3rd position, but it looks like Crooks may have made an error because Ryan Crooks is wildly slow out of the 4th corner. Crooks losing time in a hurry. Here comes Joel Conley now within 1 second. Is at the 799 of Stenbachers now in the 6th position. Both Stenbachers and Pankow up 10 spots from where they began tonight's festivities, trying to get closer into that top 3. But now it's all up to Kool-Aid Conley all over the back end of Ryan Crooks coming out of turn number 4. That is what 3/4 of a second looks like 32 laps complete. Matt O'Brien extending this lead, and how? Almost 2 seconds, the difference between first and second positions. Meanwhile, the battle for 10th starting to rage on. Doc Holliday, Chris Fathke, Matt Langley, all within half a second of each other. Everybody getting close. Chucky Mosley now to the inside of Neil Lapidus, that 49 truck with the Atlanta Racing logo on the left-hand side. And if you're normally wondering where is our dear friend Atlanta, a bit ill, a bit under the weather. ATL, if you're watching, we miss you, buddy. Get better, feel well soon, man. Can't wait to have you back next week. It is my pleasure to fill in for the illustrious Atlanta Racing, and hopefully we have a show to match the energy he brings every single week. That right there is 2 seconds, but look at the action behind him. Jim Pankow on the high side. Honeycutt and King now 5th and 6th respectively. Into turn 1, these 3 trucks really going for it. Ryan Stenbacher's now makes his way onto the podium positions. John Honeycutt seems to have resurrected himself indeed after that first crash. He and Pankow now battling side by side for the 4th position. Bit of a blink by Honeycutt. Hopefully that's not a trend later on. Special Ed saying, let's go Southern Canadian Racing. The racing team bringing us tonight's festivities. Big shout out to the boys over at SCR. Thank you so much, Southern Canadian. Love having you on. Hopefully the team does well. Stenbacher's one of the Canadians in tonight's race in that number 799 F-150. He brings up the Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota Trinity. That is your top 3. 37 laps now underway at the virtual Kansas Speedway. Chris Fathke rounding out the top 10 in truck number 27. Fathke had a bit of a scrape on the right-hand side of his Silverado. Take a close look. And you can see he's got dents and dings all over the place, something Chris doesn't want at all. Another one of the Canadians this evening, Adam Rowe in the number 12 Dirty Mo Media Silverado. Now on the back end of Neil Lapidus and Deb Hutchins behind him. Hutchins making her way up towards the front of this field. Again, a reminder, Deb Hutchins sitting in the 9th position. By next week, she needs to be 8th or higher, or it's curtains to her championship hopes. She's got the tools. She's got the talent. Now to the inside of Deb Hutchins. Truck number 1, Joel Conley. Now up to the high side. Conley weaving, scything through this competition. Joel Conley sitting in the 16th spot right now, trying to find his way up this field. Conley trying to get that lucky dog. He's sitting in the 16th position right now. Ryan Crooks almost 4 seconds ahead in truck 23, sitting in the 15th position. There's Crooks. Behind Crooks, only Joel Conley. Everybody else on a different lap. At the front of this race, however, Matt O'Brien in truck 17. Last pitting on lap 6. Green flag pit stops now underway, and you can see many of our lead lap trucks now taking part. Adam Rowe, one of the Southern Canadians, as well as Ryan Stenbacher's having to make that pit stop. Stenbacher's improved 13 spots from where he started. John Honeycutt in the 4th position, now getting close to Stenbacher's. The gap, fewer than 1 second, is all that's left between them. Chuck Mosley Jr. in the 89 and John Honeycutt, 2 of the trucks that were involved in that first accident, also last pitting on lap 6. That leaves only the top 5 drivers who have yet to pit, but here comes leader Matt O'Brien. He will relinquish the safety of the top spot for the pits. Jamie Haynes following suit. Stenbacher's also coming down in the 799. John Honeycutt coming down. There is the Alabama native, Chuck Mosley Jr. Neil Lapidus all doing the same, so now it's up to Ryan Crooks in the 7th spot. When will he decide to make the jump and come down pit road? Will it be this time by? You can't imagine so. Crooks last pitting on lap 34, so he's good minimum to lap 64. Ryan Crooks now becomes the new leader in truck number 23. He takes his Silverado to the front. There's Matt O'Brien now leaving pit road. He's going to go down to 3rd, and he could lose that podium standing. Kool-Aid Conley now up to the 2nd position. He is 5 seconds removed from Ryan Crooks at the front. It looks like truck 14 gets into the wall again, and he does. Matt Langley scraping the wall in the Langley Racing Silverado. Langley finds himself 19th, 2 laps off the top spot. Connor Cunningham in the 20th spot. Mike Everidge out of this race. That leaves 19 trucks left running. 18 of them on that lead lap, flying past the start-finish line. There's Crooks leading this race. Conley, 4.75 seconds behind the leader. It's getting larger, but is Crooks taking it too hard, too fast this early on? Meanwhile, 4.7 seconds behind the 2nd position. Matt O'Brien has a 1-second advantage over Jamie Haynes in the 4th position, but we're awfully spread out at this stage of the race, so drivers have now all the time in the world to themselves. How will they use it? How will they maintain their resources? And it's almost 3 seconds back between 4th and 5th position, Jamie Haynes and John Honeycutt, but now here comes Stenbacher in the 799. Let's ride along with Brian as he attacks Honeycutt for the top 5. Stenbacher's making it look all too easy. He now sits in the top 5. He's gained 11 places from where he originally started when the green flag flew. He's our biggest mover of the evening thus far. At the front, it's still a 4.7 second lead between Ryan Crooks and Joel Conley. Matt O'Brien, 4.16 seconds behind them, and then Haynes another second beyond that. However, the action starting to heat up further back in the field. Doc Holliday in truck number 7, losing ground to Jim Panko, who's got a mirror full of Jose Ruiz. Panko loose in one. Here comes Ruiz in the K&N. F-150 to his inside. 3 wide down the backstretch. This for the 8th spot. Sammy Harrell in truck 43, now on the outside, rocking the Atlanta Racing colors on the left-hand quarter panel. Ruiz in the 19 moves up to the 9th spot, but now goes back down to rounding out the top 10. Jim Panko in the Hooters Silverado moves back up to 9th, but now he's side by side with Ruiz for the position. 3 seconds behind this calamity. Dougie King in the number 97. Oscar the Grouch Chevy Silverado sits in 11th. He only has a half-second advantage over Chuck Mosley in truck 89. Neil Lapidus and Jorge Rincon fighting for position. This is for 13th position. Lucky number 13th position right now belonging to Neil, but the 28 Good Wrench Silverado of Jorge Rincon looking to move up into lucky number 13th spot, almost making contact with that outside wall. There you see Rincon not involved in these playoffs, so he's just here for the experience, and he's doing awfully well in the first half of this race. 172 miles will be the scheduled distance here. And for those that don't know, Kansas Motor Speedway does have a 2.3 mile road course. It's an unbelievable circuit. The American Le Mans Series has raced here before. There's been talks of NASCAR coming to the road course. It would be an awfully exciting product, certainly something that fans all over the place would indeed enjoy. Lapidus now looking to the inside, trying to gain some time from Jorge Rincon. Only 0.3 of a second separates them 53 laps into this race. Adam Rowe in the 16th position, just ahead of Debbie Hutchins. Rowe all over the back end of Chris Fathke. Fathke slow in truck 27, and Chris looks like he needs just a spot of help, but he uses the inside line cleverly to hang on to the 15th spot. Fathke slow on the outside. Now here comes Rowe up the inside line. Debbie Hutchins looking to take advantage in truck 82. Let's ride along with the Texas native. She just got to the inside of Fathke. She makes it look all too easy. Deb Hutchins moving into the 15th position. She's gained 6 spots from her original starting block. Fathke now on the outside, losing 16th to Adam Rowe, and that's going to put Chris down to the 17th spot, but he's fighting back on the outside. Fathke last pitting on lap 39, so you can surmise we're about 13 laps away from the beginning of green flag pit stop cycles. It'll be our second green flag pit stop cycles. Panko going off the racetrack. Jim Panko in truck 48 having troubles once again. He can no longer hang on to that top 10 spot. Lapidus now going around to the outside. Panko sitting in 13th, losing ample amounts of time. Jorge Rincon in the number 28. Good Wrench Chevy now looking to take the lucky position away from Panko. Fathke now the last truck on the lead lap. There's Ryan Crooks now exiting turn number 4. Fathke needs to get a move on or hope for a caution. However, if he does go a lap down, he needs to hold that first truck off the lead lap status. It looks like Stephen Harris and Matt Langley now getting into a bit of a scrape, possibly just passing a couple of trucks. Langley almost languishing on the apron, but still making a tough go of it, sitting in the 18th position. First truck 2 laps down. Fathke under threat of going 1 lap down, and he would then be the free pass truck. At the front, however, Matt O'Brien has closed that gap up to Ryan Crooks, perhaps truck 23 preparing for his pit stop cycles. we could see Crooks about 5 to 10 laps away from his green flag pit stops, and O'Brien looks like he may have saved his stuff while Crooks opened a lead of over 4 seconds, and Joel Conley starting to sink through the running order. Kool-Aid Conley sitting in third, Ryan Stenbacher's eating the time now between himself and Conley. There you see the trucks as they're lined up on that racetrack. 1.7 and falling between Conley and Stenbacher's. Last time around, Conley 0.7 slower. This time around, Conley 1.3 seconds slower. Stenbacher's can see Conley up ahead from the cockpit of truck 799. That last time by, Joel Conley, half a second slower than Stenbacher's. Now coming up to the backstretch. There's the number 1 of Conley. Is he coming down pit road? Goes well to the inside of truck 14. Lap traffic posing a problem into 3. Stenbacher's is there. Now moving on Conley for the 3rd position. Stenbacher's has the run on Conley down the front straight. 63 laps into this race. Stenbacher's looking to make it a United States and Canada shared podium. Jamie Haynes now gaining that number 53 truck, working on John Honeycutt up ahead in the number 50. This for a top 5 position. Stenbacher's can't quite look to the inside of Conley just yet. Now there goes Ryan Stenbacher's. And the Canadian takes the American for the 3rd position, 64 laps underway at Kansas. We're just past the halfway point. Jorge Rincon on his way down pit road. He's going to drop down to the 13th position and more as he comes down for tires and fuel. But thus starts green flag pit stops, and the gauntlet has been thrown down for leader Ryan Crooks. Matt O'Brien has closed the gap to 1.5 seconds before the green flag cycle. .3 seconds and counting. Here is the delta over the last 5 laps. Crooks slower over those last 5, this time by. Crooks only slower by 1/10. Could be the lap traffic holding them up, but the gap stands at 1.3 seconds right before the green flag pit stop cycles. Crooks riding behind truck number 43. That of Sammy Harrell. Harrell about to go a second lap down, but here comes the leader, Ryan Crooks. Matt O'Brien will forego his opportunity and become the new leader 67 laps into this race. Matt O'Brien so far holding the fastest lap all race long, 30.89 seconds, and the only driver to record a time under 31 seconds. But will that fastest lap time deem enough for the Armor All Tundra to get that win? Stenbacher's 5 and change behind Matt O'Brien on this green flag cycle. Behind him, however, Jamie Haynes, John Honeycutt within 2/10 for position. There is truck 23. Ryan Crooks now leaving pit road, 1 lap down, and the 14 truck of Matt Langley trying to get out of the way. Truck number 7, Doc Holliday, re-enters the playing field. O'Brien still out on pit road and even opens his lead over Stenbacher's 5.5 seconds. Now the distance. Been quite the nice race so far for Stenbacher's and O'Brien. But talk about a nice race for John Honeycutt. Up 10 spots from where he started. Improves only third to Stenbacher's and Debbie Hutchins, who now finds herself in the 9th position. But after being involved in that lap 1 accident, John Honeycutt not fighting for his spot just yet in these playoffs. There you see him 5th. Right now he finds himself 4 points ahead of the cutoff. And it's not crucial just yet, but he needs to mind his P's and Q's and keep the truck clean. For example, giving room to the faster truck of Doc Holliday, that number 7, who looks like he had to muscle his way around the 50 of Honeycutt. O'Brien still leading, and the lead has not changed. 71 laps underway for Stenbacher's. 5.4 seconds now the difference, and here comes truck 23. Ryan Crooks caning it now, trying to gain time on race leader Matt O'Brien. Meanwhile, the fight for 9th. Chris Fathke just ahead of Ryan Crooks, but this won't be much of a fight as it will be give me the position. Crooks to the inside of Fathke and easily takes 9th place away. Ryan Crooks with a 31:31 as his best time so far. And the leader, Matt O'Brien, now down pit road. He's getting his tires and his fuel. About time here. He's down. He is away. There's a pit stop strategy. There's your pit stop times right there. And it looks like so far Stenbacher's, obviously, Stenbacher's last pitting on lap 41. So yet to pit. But all of the top 7 have yet to pit. How long will Stenbacher's stay out on the racetrack? That's what your top 8 looks like so far. Matt O'Brien in truck 17 sits in the 9th position. Ryan Crooks sitting in that 8th spot. Started the pit stop strategy. And he's now working on Jose Ruiz. He is closing in at an alarming rate, but that makes sense because Ruiz is down pit road. So the number 19 at K&N Ford F-150 gets his tires and his fuel. It will be 40 laps to go next time by. Stenbacher's up 15 spots from where he started, but he's losing copious amounts of time. The longer he stays out on the racetrack at this point, it seems like the young Canadian is gambling on a yellow flag. Ryan Crooks in truck 23, 6.5 seconds behind Neil Lapidus in the number 49. Finds himself a great distance behind second place. Lapidus last pitting on lap 41. Stenbacher's has come in, so that's going to make Jamie Haynes your new leader at the Kansas Speedway. Lapidus also coming down pit road, so now Haynes, the last driver to not come down during this cycle of green flag stops. Truck 53 now decelerating, and Jamie Haynes does come down pit road. So it's Ryan Crooks who will inherit the lead. 21 seconds behind truck 53 and counting. Matt O'Brien, 8 seconds behind Ryan Crooks. But here is the fun part of everything. That stat in the middle. the pit window that says it's 30 to 40 laps on one tank of fuel. We have just under 40 laps to go. So drivers that are just pitting now, i.e. the 53 of Jamie Haynes, the 49 of Neil Lapidus, if they play their cards right and stretch that fuel, they could go the distance. But what of Ryan Crooks and Matt O'Brien? Crooks pitting on lap 66 has to go, I believe. Yeah, no, Crooks definitely can't make it. Crooks last pitted on lap 66, so if my math is correct, which it probably isn't, he has to go 50 laps to go the distance. Meanwhile, O'Brien has to go roughly 45 laps to go that distance, so I wouldn't expect drivers to be able to go all the way from here on tires and fuel, but I've seen crazier things happen. Fight for 8th, Jorge Rincon behind Jose Ruiz. The number 19 F-150 trying to hold off the Goodwrench Silverado. This a battle inside the top 10. Deb Hutchins now losing the spot to Neil Lapidus. Hutchins needs to do a little better than this. Pressure's on for Debbie. She's going to be facing the chopping block next week at Bristol if she doesn't move up a bit. Debbie Hutchins last pitting on lap 68, so Debbie cannot make it. Meanwhile, Neil Lapidus in the 49 truck last pitting on lap 75. New fastest lap for Chuck Mosley Jr. posting a 31:23 and a 31:06 just posted by the 799 of Ryan Stenbacher's. Stenbacher's one of the last trucks to pit on that cycle. Lap 75 is where he pitted, so if Ryan Stenbacher's can go 40 laps on this tank of fuel, you could expect truck 799 to have a shot at going the distance and winning this race. The gap, 5.7 seconds and counting between Ryan Crooks and Matt O'Brien. There's the lap history over the last laps, and you can see 3 tenths, 2.5 tenths, 3.5 tenths, 4.5 tenths, now almost 7 tenths that Matt O'Brien has gained up ahead on Ryan Crooks. But is O'Brien falling into the same trap that caused Crooks to pit so early? Does O'Brien know he can't go the distance? Is that a calculated fact? And it's now go time for O'Brien, trying to burn as much tires and fuel as possible, knowing almost everybody must take another stop. If you've recently joined us, I'm Rick James, filling in for my wonderful friend Atlanta Racing, who's feeling a bit under the weather. Thinking about you, ATL. Feel better, pal. Slowly approaching the last 30 laps of competition. One more look across the line, and this time by leader Ryan Crooks, 5 tenths slower than Matt O'Brien behind him. The gap, 4.5 seconds, and tumbling, coming to 31 laps to go. Meanwhile, in the 8th position, Jamie Haynes catching up on Sam Harrell. Harrell's up 11 spots from where he started this race. Jamie Haynes, half a second behind Harrell. Chuck Mosley Jr. sitting in the 14th position. He's now looking on the outside of Deb Hutchins, and Debbie under threat of falling out of the top 13, and this could be the hammer getting ready to strike the nail in her playoff coffin. There you see Debbie Hutchins sitting 9th. She's only 2 spots away from the playoffs. She's also fighting T. Stephen Harris. but Harris sitting in the 18th position, being scored currently out of this race. Deb Hutchins has to get a move on. There you see a couple of trucks coming down pit road. Everybody's on different strategies for now. Hutchins moves up to the 12th position. Chuck Mosley Jr. up to 11th. Meanwhile, Doug King within a half second of Neil Lapidus in the 9th position. These two sitting 9th and 10th, respectively. Bringing up those points, there you see neither Doug King nor Neil Lapidus fighting for this championship. All for fun and experience for these gentlemen this evening. Ryan Crooks leading by only 3 seconds over Matt O'Brien. There's the eye in the sky. Truck 23 ahead of truck 17. Is this mind games? Is this strategy that O'Brien is working at the moment? O'Brien now hunting down truck 53. That's Jamie Haynes in the 7th position, currently 1 lap down. Big shout out to Special Dogs and More following an hour ago. Appreciate you so much. Also to Jay Kenny, Ace Recon. Freddie LaChance recently following. Thank you all so much. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Drop me a line on Twitter. Let me know what we have to do to improve the stream and make it just a bit more fun for you. Possibly a bit more interactive. How would you like to engage more with the stream, with RJTV? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this fight for the lead that's brewing up, however. Matt O'Brien really burning up tires and fuel, chasing down Ryan Crooks. O'Brien last pitting on lap 71, so the quick math says O'Brien's looking at a pit stop within the next 10 laps, but Ryan Crooks could be looking at a pit stop within about 15 laps. Just too hard to tell at the moment. Special Dogs and More, while he's having that conversation about special ed, talking about the Barstool Fund. Barstool Sports funding for some businesses that have been affected by this pandemic, that have affected us all. Good to hear that some businesses are being taken care of by good companies like that. Thank you, Special Ed. My pleasure to be here covering for my good friend Atlanta. I could not be more thankful and more privileged to be in this position. Feel better, ATL, 25 laps to go in this race. There we go, we can read that a little better now. '24 as the 23 crosses the line. Matt O'Brien within 2 seconds, and he's really putting the pressure on Ryan Crooks, but he's slowly chipping away at that advantage. Meanwhile, a battle between 8th, 9th, and 10th position now as pit stops cycle one more time. Jamie Haynes in the 7th position, 2/10 ahead of Dougie King in the number 97, Oscar the Grouch. Silverado, can't forget Doc Holliday in the 9th position. Some championship contenders, some not, but with 5 trucks left on the lead lap with this next phase of pit stops beginning, this is the money stop that drivers will soon be making. Jamie Haynes slow on the inside line. Truck 53 with a lot to play for, leading these points. Jamie not taking any unnecessary risks, has a 15-point lead over Matt O'Brien, who's running 2nd in the race and 2nd in points. But talk about Kool-Aid Conley. He's got a mountain to climb. Joel Conley last pitting on lap 90, just making this what you could think would be the money stop right here. It's a gamble, thinking he's got 35 laps to go if my math is right. Nope, it's wrong. 25 laps to go. So Conley can go the distance, just recently having pitted. If a yellow flag comes out, Conley would find himself at an advantage, but a far less advantage considering Crooks, O'Brien, and the rest of the top 11 still have to pit. There's a lot of strategies to play. 20 to go this time by. Special ed cheering on for Jamie Haynes. Haynes rocking the 7th position right now. Not too much to lose here for Jamie Haynes. Debbie Hutchins gets around the outside, now up to the 7th spot. Hutchins still has one more pit stop to make, but a yellow flag could come out and favor Deb. The Texas pilot, again, 9th in points, only 2 points away from the cutoff position, but it has not been her race, and the chopping block could come across the Hutchins name come at the checkered flag next Monday night at Bristol. That's the 49 of Neil Lapidus, who's now exiting pit road. He has made his pit stops for the day. That's going to put Canadian Ryan Stenbachers at the top spot. New leader at the front of this race as baby 8088 cheers on their Canadian favorite. 4 out of the top 5 have yet to pit. Ryan Crooks now leaving pit road. Ryan sitting in the 4th position. The onus now on Matt O'Brien. O'Brien last pitting on lap 94, 1 lap before Crooks, and look at the advantage now. These two have been fighting for the lead all race long, and this could be the battle for the race win. Coming to 18 laps to go for them both. 17 of O'Brien looks to the inside of Crooks. This the fight for the potential race win. On board now with Crooks. With O'Brien. Coming to 15 laps to go, Ryan Crooks sitting in the 3rd position, 12 seconds behind Jose Ruiz, who still has yet to pit. Last pitting on lap 73. Ruiz cannot go the entire distance unless Truck 19 has been conserving this whole way through. Will Ruiz make it to the front? He finds himself 15 seconds behind Ryan Stenbachers, who also has not pitted, but Stenbachers last pitting on lap 75. If Stenbachers has saved and can stretch the fuel to 40 laps, he can go the distance, but I have not seen a single driver hit that mark. Behind truck 799, Kool-Aid Conley in the 7th position. Not much to be aggressive about. Joel sitting 3rd in the points right now. A comfortable, and yes, 10 points is a comfortable gap ahead of the cutoff for now. Conley getting loose into the first corner. You see he had to back out all over the back end of the leader, Stenbachers. Conley comfortably riding around in the 6th position. Lucky number 13 laps to go for Ryan Stenbachers, but how long can he stay out? And will it be enough to hold off Ryan Crooks? Crooks has Matt O'Brien all over his back end, and over the last 5 laps, Crooks has not been consistently quicker than O'Brien. You see the last 2 of the last 5 laps. O'Brien has been quicker than his Chevrolet counterpart. Last time by, O'Brien quicker by only 3/1000ths of a second. Special Ed says, let's go, Joel. He's cheering on for Kool-Aid Conley, now in the 5th position. Joe Conley, last pitting on lap 90. He was the very first driver to start the pit stop cycle, and he's gained an incredible amount of time. The strategy could work out for Kool-Aid. Meanwhile, Stenbachers. Will he be able to go the distance? It's improbable, but not impossible. Crooks, however, within 19 seconds, and he's got a half-second gap over O'Brien, and he's starting to expand that. O'Brien running right up the track to Sammy Harrell in truck 43. Special Ed says, let's go, Charlie, and he's cheering on for Chuck Mosley Jr. into the number 89 Unical 76 Chevrolet Silverado, the American. Last pitting on lap 74, Chuck Mosley is in mega conservation mode if he's looking to go all the way to the end. There's the leader, Stenbachers. 17 seconds, the gap between himself and Crooks. 9 laps to go, this time by Canada, United States, your podium as it stands. The other of 2 Canadians in this field, Adam Rowe, running 19th out of this race. It's been an unbelievable race so far, but still so much to go. And the 799 of Stenbachers being held up by Chris Fathke in truck 27. Fathke currently running in the 15th position, about to go 3 laps down. Doc Holliday up ahead in the 13th position, only 1 lap down. Green flag pit stops now finishing up. Matt Langley comes down pit road in the number 14 Langley Racing Silverado. There's race leader Ryan Stenbachers. 8 laps to go in the Heartland. Crooks in position number 2. 0.8 of a second ahead of Matt O'Brien, but did O'Brien come 1 lap too early? Is he saving his stuff for a potential green-white checkered finish? Bringing up the points brought to you by Southern Canadian Racing one more time. Matt O'Brien sitting second. 15 points away from Jamie Haynes. No need to risk the advantage he's got now. Rita says Stenbachers a legend if he pulls it off. There's Stenbachers in the 799. 13 seconds now the gap between himself and Crooks over the last 5 laps. This is what that gap looks like. Crooks fast, and here's the leader coming in. It will not be a stretch to the end. Ryan Stenbachers brings his number 799 Ford F-150 down pit road. There's Ryan Crooks on the outside. Stenbachers cannot make it. That's going to put Ryan Crooks at the front of this race. Matt O'Brien in the 2nd position. Both drivers last pitting on lap 95 and 94 respectively. Kool-Aid Conley will move into the 3rd position, and it's an all United States podium coming to the final 5 laps at Kansas, and he just couldn't stretch it. Stenbachers now exiting pit road. He will most likely finish this race on the lead lap, well inside the top 5. Johnny Honeycutt now coming to take 4th position away from the Canadian Stenbachers, but a valiant effort nonetheless, and Stenbachers will walk away with a well-deserved top 5. Reedus showing his disappointment, and tell me about it. In the grand scheme of things, 5 laps really is nothing, but excellently brave of Stenbachers to give it the old college try, but coming to 4 laps to go, Matt O'Brien now has it all to do. Over the last 5 laps, O'Brien just has not been able to compete this last time by. Crooks quicker by only 9/100ths of a second. If O'Brien can keep up some consistently fast laps, he may just be able to put a dent into this lead. But coming to the final 3 laps of racing, it's going to take a mistake from Ryan Crooks to give up first place. O'Brien getting closer, starting to close that gap, but not quick enough. 3 miles remain in this 172-mile marathon. Next time by, Kool-Aid Conley up into the 3rd position. He's got a 9.5-second advantage over 4th place, Johnny Honeycutt. Loose out of turn 2, but what can you say about Honeycutt? Involved in that first accident with Chuck Mosley in the 89. Honeycutt, if he can hang on to her, will come away with a top 5 finish. Ryan Crooks will see the white flag this time by, and Matt O'Brien now further than 1.5 seconds between himself and the lead. And it's merely a cool-down lap for Ryan Crooks now. He's led the most laps tonight, and at one point you could be forgiven for thinking he was driving a bit too hard, too fast, but not the case. A Michael Jordan-like performance in these playoffs. Ryan Crooks with half a mile to the line. Great fight by Matt O'Brien. Kool-Aid Conley really using the strategy to his advantage and coming through clutch, but it's going to be Ryan Crooks who comes through to collect the checkered flag in round 24. He wins in the Heartland. Excellent win for Crooks, bringing up those points coming into this race. You see Crooks not a part of this playoff fight, but he came in to dominate. He sits 19th in the points, well outside the playoff 10, but it's a great redemption and a great way to say he's still here to play. Matt O'Brien coming through for the 2nd position. Joel Conley, the Floridian, coming through for the bronze medal. Fans at home, do stick around. We're going to have top 3 interviews in just a moment. It was a great race indeed. And now a celebration from the 23, Ryan Crooks. He's going to burn the house down. And a well-deserved celebration. Stick around, fans. Podium interviews in just a moment. Now on the podium for top 3 interviews, starting with the third place driver, Joel Conley, driver of the number 1 Exalta Chevrolet. Kool-Aid, talk about a performance, man. You came in clutch at the end, and you've got the bronze medal.
Oh yeah, man. Really excited, and that's probably about all we had with these other two guys in here. So really, really proud to run kind of where we belonged. So felt real good.
Next week at Bristol, is it solid that you're going through to the round of 8?
Uh, just want to have a good run. I don't care about winning. I just care about getting a nice top 5 and smooth getting in there. So hopefully,
Congratulations again on your third place finish, Joel.
yeah, man. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Big shout out to Special Dogs and More who cheered 100 bits at the end of that race. Appreciate you, Special. Appreciate you so much. And everybody that came through tonight. Matt O'Brien comes away with our silver medal tonight. Matty O, did you have anything for Ryan Crooks at the end? At one point, you were the fastest truck all race long.
I am very confused on how the undercut works so well. To be honest, I'm pretty baffled. I'm really just confused because it's just like usually you would run them down in no time, and that just didn't happen. And I don't know. I'm really just confused and pretty disappointed.
Second place is nothing to turn your nose at. Still a valiant effort. Will it be another podium next week at Bristol?
If I'm able to show up, yeah.
With playoff hopes on the line, hopefully we do see you there. That brings us to our winning interview, brought to you by all the good folks at Southern Canadian Racing and, of course, the illustrious Atlanta Racing. Thank you so much for having me here. Ryan Crooks, not in the playoff picture, but dominating the race tonight. Just like we said earlier, Ryan, it was a Michael Jordan playoff performance in that 23.
No, I appreciate it. I think I got lucky with how the pit strategy fell. The first time coming to pit road, I came in super hot and got it woed down, and I think that's where I kind of gained the time. And the next 2 stops, he kept cutting into my time, and I was just worried he was going to catch me on the long runs. Car got tight as soon as the tires burned off, so as soon as I started to feel it get tight, I tried to move to the top so I can try to keep the throttle all the way down, but everybody did a great job today. Just super excited. First win in the series.
And what a win for you, and what a way to get it. With nothing to lose next week at Bristol, can we expect the same kind of performance?
I love Bristol. Definitely we're going to try to keep our nose clean, try not to hurt anybody's playoff chances. And if we're there, I definitely think we can make it happen. So we'll see.
We'll keep an eye out for Truck 23. Congratulations once again, Ryan Crooks. You come away with your first win of the season.
Thank you, Rick.
What a playoff situation we have shaped up next week. Jamie Haynes only leads Matt O'Brien in the points by 6 digits, and it's a 4-way tie between 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th place. 10 drivers whittled down to 8. 4 drivers between 6th and 9th tied, and 10th place, Stephen Harris, 9 points away from that 4-way tie. You cannot miss these Southern Canadian Trucks playoffs. They will continue next Monday night, 8:40 p.m. Hopefully, if Atlanta Racing's feeling better, he'll be able to take that helm. We expect to have him back next Monday night. But once again, my pleasure to be here. Thank you all who tuned in. Stay tuned tomorrow night, the OG Racing Modifieds take to Gateway. Until then, all the fans, thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and